My father, Richard, passed away this last January. It was devastating for my mother. They have been together for 60 years. It's an unimaginable amount of time in this day and age. And it's been extremely hard for her dealing with his passing, for me as well. But I thought what I would speak about is how they met in the early days of their relationship. My mother left Carroll, Iowa, where she grew up, to work as a governess for a family in Los Angeles when she was a young woman, to make money to go to college. When she'd saved up enough money, she went to Berkeley, California to study philosophy. When she was there, she worked at a record store called Tenney's Records. It was there that she met my father. He was unbelievably handsome. He looked like Paul Newman. It was love at first sight. They went to a movie together and he asked her out. And though she'd been pursued by many other people, she was, by the way, the great-great-great-granddaughter of a French prince, which you would never know because she was raised in a very simple farm environment. But she had a wonderful quality about her that I'm sure you've all picked up on. She had a kind of devilish charm, is how I would put it, that must have come from that French prince. Anyways, my parents met in Berkeley in the height of the 60s peace riots. They weren't really involved in that. They were very determined to make a difference in their community. They parked cars to make extra money at college football games. Their friends were all out having fun, but they continued to work super hard. They were very industrious. They saved and scrimped and got enough money together to buy a dilapidated apartment house. They spent all their time fixing up the apartment house and then sold it afterwards. Again, this was a precursor to all the kind of fixer-up we were seeing. They were very much ahead of their time. They were vegetarians before their day. My dad was interested in animal rights. They moved to Vancouver, British Columbia when a little after I was born, because my dad got a job as a philosophy professor at the University of British Columbia. They loved Vancouver. I grew up in a house that was filled with music and books. Visiting college professors were there all the time. I realize now, but I didn't at the time, that they actually associated with kind of incredibly intellectual elite group of philosophy professors who are like superheroes within the field. Like there was someone named A.J. Ayer who wrote the Encyclopedia of Philosophy. He was called Freddie to me. There was someone named Derek Parfit who taught at Oxford, who was best buddies with my dad. Peter Singer, another major figure in the philosophical world. These were people who came by and came over for dinner. My mother whipped up a vegetarian meal very stylishly. We had lovely conversations. We listened to gorgeous opera music. My parents opened a classical record store in downtown Vancouver on Hastings Street, which was open for 60 years probably. It was so beloved. It was not something they did for money. They just cared very, very much about classical music. My dad had a radio show. He rode his bicycle around. My mother began to go to art classes when I was maybe 5 years old. The early paintings that she did are so exquisite. I'm like sitting in front of one right here. It's of some hollyhocks from a visit that we made to London. We took these long walks in the English countryside. She painted, my dad wrote. It was a really idyllic childhood, but in an unusual, eccentric way.